Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where today I am going to provide you with my initial thoughts on the entirety of the new German light tank and tank destroyer line. I am recording this on Sunday, the Sunday immediately after the Tuesday release, so these tanks have only been in the game for 5 days. That's not very long, so my thoughts may change with time as these tanks settle into the game and I get more time playing them. But for now, I thought I would just give you my initial thoughts because maybe some of you haven't finished the line, maybe some of you haven't even started. So yeah, I will provide you with my thoughts and you guys can let me know in the comments whether you have had the same experience as me or a completely different experience. So let's jump straight in then to the bottom of Era 1, which is the RU-251. The RU-251 is a solid light tank, no doubt about it. It is incredibly quick, and its balancing feature is that the gun is not terribly accurate on the move. So you'd want to play it with a concealment build. You want to play it so that you just keep moving, you don't stop, because the speed is its armor basically. And the reason I say that is because from an armor point of view, it doesn't have any nice ammo rack there on the Super M48. Not feeling so super now. Not without his head. Anyway, 251, yes, it doesn't have any armor, and that, while it's very, very quick, it's the quickest tank in the game now. So while it holds that record, that doesn't mean that it is untouchable. It has no armor, like I've said, and that means that it is very, very vulnerable to tanks like the FV101 especially. I make a point out of hunting 251s in my 101 because the lack of armor means that my high explosive rounds are almost guaranteed to do full damage every single penetration, which is 250 alpha per shot. That's quite good. And, you know, yeah, 251 is fast, but it does need to keep an eye out for 101s. So if you're going to start playing the line, I would say just keep an eye out. You're not invincible. You're a good tank. You can ram things very, very well. You can ram FVs very, very well, the 107 and the 101. But if a 101 player can avoid being rammed, they will absolutely demolish you with high explosive. So keep an eye out for that one. Next up then, in Era 1, we have the, and I'll try and say this correctly, Kanonenjagdpanzer 4.5. This is a fixed gun, how do you say this? It's not fixed turret, is it? Hasn't got a turret. The gun is in the hull, basically. So you don't have a turret. The gun is fixed to the hull, and that means that its gun traverse, left and right, is obviously limited. That is initially that is a limitation, which is annoying. So I know some people really don't like that kind of tank. So if you're not into that, you're not off to a great start with this one. Secondly, the alpha per shot is something like, let's have a look, what is the alpha per shot? 280, so that's not incredibly high, and given we have true vision, in order for you to do 1,000 damage, you need to put in roughly 4 shots, and because true vision exists, after the second or third shot, whoever you're shooting at will be able to see where they're being shot from. They'll likely be able to see you and put a shot back in return. So the playstyle for this tank is shoot, move, shoot, move, shoot, move. And that can be quite, I want to say exhausting. It can be quite a tiresome playstyle, especially when you consider that you can put out the same amount of damage in a 268 or a 4005 with 1 or 2 shots. And for me personally, I would rather put 1 shot out and do 1,000 damage than have to put out 4. You know, it's like you get more for your money in the 4005 and the 268. So For me, the 4-5 didn't really gel. I sold it. I don't think I'll be going back to it because I feel there are tank destroyers in Era 1 that can do the same job, but better. But that's just me. I know other people like Eclipse. He loved it. So if you're one of the guys that likes it, then more power to you. I didn't. So that is it for Era 1. There were 2 tanks in Era 1. Let's move on to Era 2. And in Era 2, we have the... Okay, I'll again go try and get this right. The Raketenjagdpanzer 2. This is the first ATGM-only tech tree tank in the game, I believe. We have had ATGM-only vehicles before. We've got the Jaguar 1 in Era 3. It's a premium. And we've got the Weasel, Era 3 premium. But this is the first time where we've had a tech tree, and this is also the first auto-loading ATGM-only vehicle. So it is very unique, and if you're not, again, if you're not an ATGM player, then you might struggle with this one. I know on stream a couple of my buddies have struggled with it. Nice double kill there to finish off that game, and 10k damage. There we go. So yes, the Raketenjagdpanzer 2 is ATGMs only. If you're not used to ATGMs, then this is going to be a trial by fire because you literally have nothing else to rely on. It's a tank destroyer, so you do get the benefit of excellent concealment, which, hey, you know, nothing wrong with good concealment. But you do obviously need to deal with ATGMs only. And if you're not an ATGM fan, that one is going to be... there's no other way to say it. That one's going to be a real ball ache. It really will be. So but if you love ATGMs, it's a fantastic tank. I mean, I like to think I'm pretty good with ATGMs. I think it's a brilliant tank. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've pulled in some incredible games with it. But it's not for everyone. It's a little bit like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it, I think. So, yeah, take that one and decide for yourself, I would say. So, yeah, that's the Raketenjagdpanzer 2. Moving on up, we have the middle of Era 2. We have the Marder 1A1. And I have already released a video on the Marder 1A1, comparing it to the BMP2. And I have to say, I think the Marder 1A1, it pushes the envelope of Era 2 slightly. It is a good tank. I don't think it's overpowered. It's powerful, but it's not overpowered. I think that it's a good it's a good contender against the I don't know if that's the right word, competitor is what I'm trying to say. There we go. It's a good competitor for the BMP2. If you want to know my thoughts on exactly how the 1A1 and the BMP2 compare, then check the link in the description. I've got a video on that already. But those two tanks they complement each other quite well. One tank has a strength, the other tank has a strength, and they kind of work their way up sort of together in a sense. So yeah, the 1A1 is a very, very good tank. It's a superb tank, as is the BMP2. That is the middle of Era 2, the Marder 1A1. We now move on to, and I've got to try and say this one right as well, the BegleitPanzer 5.7. Now, this is where I feel the line breaks, and breaks in quite spectacular fashion. Everyone's calling it the BegleitPanzer. And this is it right here on screen. And as you can see, it just demolishes anything it comes across. And this tank is giving me pre-nerf Armadillo vibes. It's giving me vibes of I can go wherever I want, do whatever I want to anybody, and get away with it. I was okay with this line until I played this tank. And I will provide you with some statistics to back up what I'm saying here. So, Let's just switch to the gun here. The main gun, this 57mm Bofors, which by the way I do love the fact that we've got a Bofors in the game. I don't know why, but I've always had a soft spot for the Bofors gun. I think it's a very cool looking gun. So thumbs up to Sweden for that one. So the Bofors on this gun has the standard rounds have 245mm of penetration and 85 average alpha per shot. That's quite good. That is very good. Let's compare that to another tank in a different era, mind. This is a completely different era. Compare this to the BMP3. Right. So the BMP3, let's just switch back to the stock gun there. The BMP3 has 120mm of penetration and 15 alpha per shot. So we have Era 2 and Era 3. The BMP3 is meant to be above the BegleitPanzer here, 57. It's meant to be a better tank, but it has I don't know. I'm not great at math. So it's got, just quickly, it's got the BegleitPanzer has 125mm more penetration on its shots than the Era 3 light tank. So immediately I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And this continues into that's not just the gun. What I've mentioned there is the gun on its own. This story continues into the ATGM. So let's have a look here. The stock, what's that? That's the stock. Yeah. All right. The ATGM launcher for the BegleitPanzer doesn't have an upgrade. So the stock gun is the ATGM launcher stock is the same one you get the whole way through, but its alpha per shot is 1100 and its penetration is 630 on standard ATGMs, but it has gold ATGMs which has 800mm of penetration. So if you load just gold, you have 800mm of penetration and 1100 alpha. Let's have a look at the BMP3. So what have we got on the BMP3? We have 850mm of penetration on stock ATGMs. It doesn't have gold ATGMs because instead of a gold round ATGM, it has high explosive, which I've only used like twice. So that tells you how good that is. But its damage per ATGM is 980. So the Era 2 has 50mm less penetration, but has, what are we looking at here? 180, I think it's 180 more alpha on its ATGMs. You could put the BegleitPanzer in Era 3 and it would perform better than the BMP3. And to me that's a problem, because the BMP3, well, first of all, is Era 3, and it itself is struggling. It's not terrible. It struggles. It really does struggle because of the power creep that's been introduced in Era 3 over the last couple of years. You can still make it work. You can, but it's hard. It's hard work. But the fact that we have an Era 2 light tank that just outperforms the BMP3, I think is, I think that's a real problem. This tank, this BegleitPanzer does not belong in Era 2. I think this tank is too much for Era 2. I mean, this tank can just do what it wants, when it wants, how it wants, to whoever it wants. And again, like I said before, that's giving me Armadillo vibes. It's too much. I think this tank is too much for Era 2. Personally, I would like to see this thing in Era 3, because I feel with how it's behaving in game, right? I mean, look at this. Full health, a 120, ATGM, wait for the gun to reload, bang, bang, bang. Dead. Dead. And that guy didn't even put a shot out. Not one. It's too much. This tank is too much in my opinion. So, yeah, that's the top of Era 2. We now move into Era 3. The Marder 1A3. I have seen incredible things from the Marder 1A3. It is a superbly strong tank. I do have it. I haven't fully unlocked it yet. But I have seen what it's capable of. And what it's capable of is greatness. And again, this just highlights the issue that I was just talking about previously, which is that the BMP3 is woefully it's woefully under everything, under skilled, underperforming. It's not, there's no competition, absolutely no competition when you look at the autocannon that the 1A3 has, the ATGMs that it's got. I mean, we'll have a look at the 1A3 here. So it's got 214 millimeters of penetration on its autocannon rounds and 25 alpha. That's 10 alpha over the BMP3. Switch back to the regular gun, and what have we got here? Yeah, it's near on 100 millimeters more penetration on its standard autocannon rounds than the BMP3. Switch back to the ATGM launcher here. Let's have a look. What have we got? And this is the gold. This is the situation with the gold rounds. 950 millimeters of penetration on its gold ATGMs, the Marder. 1120 damage. And we've already talked about the BMP3. 850 millimeters and 980 damage. So, again, BMP3 is just woefully underpowered. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. I think that this line is fantastic until you get to the BegleitPanzer. The Marder 1A1 and below, fine. But above that, I think we have some serious balance issues in the game. And that is all I have to say for this one, guys. So, if you've enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about these tanks and what you guys do and do not like about them. It's only been 5 days, so it's pretty early. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys say. So, on that note, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, if not a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.